Alright guys, I think I actually said in the last video that it was going to be the last tutorial in this mini series, but I didn't want to make a video that's too long because my attention span isn't that long. I don't like watching videos that long. So anyways, in this video, I promise, I got the freaking hiccups now, that we're going to be finishing up. So what we did so far, just to recap, this can take like 5 seconds, is we took all of the information from our XML file and we now have it stored in arrays. Now we did that because we can use these arrays whenever we're working with our JavaScript file. So now we have one thing left to do, and that's print the crap out on the screen in a fashion where it's more, easily viewable to the user, because whenever you go to your boss who knows nothing about programming and be like, "Oh, here's the information in a nice XML file." They're like, "What the heck is this crap?" No, you want it in a user-friendly kind of program, viewing experience bonanza. So let's go ahead and store everything in variable first. And all the stuff we're going to print out on the screen, we'll just name it stuff. Very simple. So right now it's empty because we didn't populate anything yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use a for loop to loop through each array simultaneously, and it's going to be pretty freaking sweet. So for what we want to do is just go ahead and make a counting variable. I is equal to 0, because anytime you're working with arrays, it's always important to set your loop to 0, because remember, computers start counting at 0, only people start counting at 1. Now I is less than, and this, here's the thing, the next parameter is how long do you want your loop to be. Well, since both of these arrays are the same length, it doesn't really matter which array you get the length of. So you can either do names dot length, or you can do social security numbers dot length. It doesn't matter because each of those are 2 elements long. And that's another awesome thing whenever you're working with XML files. You usually have simultaneous or consistent information, so that's another, awesome thing. And of course, actually let me tighten this up. Of course, we only want to loop through one at a time. So there we go. So basically this loop is gonna, or I is gonna be set to 0, then 1, and then it's gonna stop. So let me go ahead and show you guys how to fill this stuff variable with all the information that we need. So I actually have this program up and running on my server right now, and let me just show you guys what's going on. So here is the final appearance of our program. We already coded this. Here's the list of people in our HTML file. Now JavaScript is gonna create these, or this I don't even know, this data right here. Bucky Roberts dash social security number. Mike Litteris dash social security number. And this is actually an old one, so the social security numbers are different. But that's the format that we're going to be printing it out in. So now, how do we get that? Well, go ahead and set your stuff variable equal to, the first thing we want is the name of the first person. So how do we get that? Well, names, because that's the array. And in order to get the first item in the array, just write item I. Because remember, right now I is equal to 0. This is the very first loop. So this is basically gonna get the very first name. But it's not that easy. You just don't print it out like this. You need to print it out by calling some more properties of it. The first property that you need to append on here is first child. Now the first child is basically the text. So whenever, let me break this down. The names array is basically made up of several items, but the item itself is this entire thing. This entire tag with, these names right here and the text Bucky Roberts. Well, we are only worried about the text or the data inside. In other words, we're not worried about these tags. We only want to print out this name. So that's what the first child is. The first child is the name, and data is basically the text. And if you guys are like, that's freaking stupid, Bucky, why would they make it like that? I don't know. Don't yell at me. I didn't invent AJAX. I just teach it. So this right here is what you need to write in order to print out the text Bucky Roberts. It's stupid, I know, I agree with you, but that's how you do it, and that is what first child means, the text and the data. The first child is the things inside the tags, and the data is the text. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. So now, let's just go ahead and print out this little minus sign to separate the name from the social security number. And after this, of course, we need to print out the data of the social security number array, which is going to be Bucky's social security number. So instead of the names array, because this would print out Bucky Roberts again, just change this to SSNs. So what this is going to do is it's going to say Bucky Roberts and then whatever my social security number was. So it's going to get the first element in the social security number array and print out pretty much the text of that. Now what I want to do after this, and I know I'm going off screen kind of, is I just want to add a line break, and that's what's going to cause Mike Litteris and every other one to be on another line. If we didn't have this line break, then it would just look like one big string of text, and we don't want that. So break, and there we go. So you don't need to do this for every single user or every single employee. You just make one loop and it loops through all of the crap. So again, even though we only, if you were just looking at this in first glance, you would think that it loops through the names array because it has names length. But since both of these arrays are the same length, you can actually use the same loop in conjunction with the names and social security numbers, and it's going to work. You're not going to go out of bounds in your loop at all. So now what we did is we stored all of this information inside the variable stuff. So you think, okay, we can just run our program right now and it's going to look like this, right? Wrong. And that is because even though we stored it inside the variable stuff, we didn't say display that on the screen yet. So in order to display all the content or the value of stuff on the screen, what we need to do is we actually need to say where we want to display it, and well, that's basically it. So where do we want to display this? Well, of course, we want to display it right at this div, the D. So the first thing we need to do is reference the D. So the D variable is equal to document, which is basically your HTML document, get elements by ID. And what is the ID of this? It's the D. Just copy that. So now the D in JavaScript refers to the D div element in our HTML file. So now what we can do is just populate the inner HTML of this. So the D inner HTML. So basically change the HTML of the D to stuff. So now our program is finally complete. So what I'm going to do is actually save this, and I'm going to stop the video, and I'm going to upload everything to my server, and I'll show you guys the final program. Alright guys, it was actually a good thing I paused the video because we did have an error, or actually I did have an error I should say, and it took me a while to fix it, at least like 5 minutes. When I made my XML file, I made it like this, but I was getting error, and it said like the document object is null, and I thought that I had an error somewhere in my JavaScript file, so I kept looking for one, couldn't find one, and it turns out that I just had a space between the question mark and the XML, the letters XML. So you cannot have it like this, you need it like that. I am an idiot, but like I said, it was a couple weeks before, simple error, but now we have the final program right here, looking pretty freaking sweet. So here it is, and well, not much to talk about. That's it. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions about the source code or anything, I'm going to be putting all the source code on my forum, tnbforum.com, and you can talk to anyone there. If I'm on there, I can answer your question. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to get subscribed. See you later.